Okay, so we'll start for the day today. So we were about to load the data, so I just mocked up the data. Let me show that what I've done. You log into here. What is this Google today? So ORS online 3 Tiger. So let me log in to ORS online 3. So first let's check these tables one by one. Party table. Someone has created this hierarchy. Someone has clicked on that. Yes, that's okay, but I actually thought of showing that to everyone so that I did not create these tables. I mean, but that's fine. But in here online lab, okay, in lab also this hierarchies, I'll just show you. Okay, here also it is enabled, but why can't I see the tables? Yeah, okay, here also it is enabled hierarchy. I thought of showing that how to enable this and everything. I thought of showing that to everyone, but I don't know. Let's see. We'll check that in the hierarchy class. Anyway, party table. Let's check the landing table for the party. So let me see what I have inserted. I have inserted few sample records. So this was inserted. C landing party. This I told you that this is a system column src underscore ID, and as you can see, this need not be mapped. I mean, you need not means this should not be mapped. It's not needed. This will be used by the system, so this is not used. This is an important column. Last update date is must. If you do not map, what happens? I'll show you what happens if you do not map it. The job will fail. Okay, and the party ID is the primary key from the source. For example, you can see src column is the thing that differentiates data source wise. So you can see these two records are from MLO source systems, and these two records are from the CKR source systems, and this is the primary key for those two records. Primary key means the primary key in the source. That's what I'm saying. Primary key from the source. Okay, so this is the primary key from the MLO for these two records, and this is the primary key from CKR for these two records. And let's see what we have here. Can you tell me how many customers are actually there total? There are actually two customers. Okay, we're seeing 4 rows, but the total unique customers is 2. This Amit Mishra and Amit Mishra, it's the same customer. Okay, but one is coming from MLO, another is coming from CKR. You can see they are exactly duplicates, so that's a simple situation. Here you can see with Vinay Kumar and Vinay K Kumar. So this is a simple thing. They, even if they look same, they are, I mean, you can see Vinay Kumar, Vinay K Kumar. There's a slight difference, that is there's a extra character K, but actually these two are same customer. There's only the initials is missing between these two records. So our objective is to, what is our objective is to create the master data out of this. To do that, first of all, we have to move this data from the landing table to the staging to the base object. And once we do that, you will see that the data will be loaded as it is. That is the way you are seeing the data here, these 4 records. You will see that the 4 records will be loaded into the base object, and later once data is loaded into the base object, the deduplication will run. So whenever I say deduplication, what is the meaning of that deduplication? The meaning of deduplication is match and merge. Okay, match and merge is also called as dedupe. Dedupe means reverse of duplication, so removing duplicates. You can also call that as match and merge. That's
Yes. So that's where actual MDM process happens, right? I mean, that's
correct.
the core of the process, right?
That's the core of the process. Once we load data into the base object, then we are going to start with the tokenization process. The tokenization from here, this is from this class to this class. these 4 classes. I think this will run for a week or so. This is the most important part of MDM. Okay, this is just what we have studied now till now. It's okay, but it's not, I mean, it's not really important. Really important is this is really important, because if you do anything wrong in here, if you do not understand the options properly, that will impact the complete project. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll quickly load this data. There is no separate process called, yeah, this process is called as dedupe, the match and merge process. Why I'm referring to dedupe is because dedupe is a common name. For example, match and merge is something that is a term that's used in Informatica MDM, and you will see in most of the MDM tools this is called as match and merge. But if you go with IDQ or something, then it's called as dedupe. So the functionality is, you can say it's match and merge or dedupe. Dedupe is, I mean, it's easier to speak because dedupe, that's the pronunciation. So that's why I say it is a dedupe, but you can say that it is match and merge. Both we are referring to the same thing. There's no process called as dedupe separately. The dedupe is a term. Okay, dedupe is a term in MDM that is used for match and merge. So there's no separate job or something that's called as dedupe. If you check the party table, this is the party table. I hope you understand this. We have 2 unique customers, but there are 1 instance here, but two duplicates are there, Vinay Kumar and Vinay K. Kumar, Amit Mishra and Amit Mishra. Okay, and if you see their respective contact, if you see their respective contacts also, the contact information is almost same. It's slightly different, the date of birth is slightly different, and the phone numbers are same. The fax number is slightly different, and the middle name, there's an extra middle name here in Vinay, which was not here, and Amit is exactly same. Similarly, if you go to the addresses, they will have duplicate addresses, ADDR, I think. So you can see here this customer and this customer. Okay, this first customer and this customer, this is the same customer. The address is the same. You can also check it. CKR8011, and this is the same customer. Okay, so now what we'll do is, so I hope you understood the data. The data is very simple. We are only talking about 2 unique customers here, that is Amit Mishra and Vinay Kumar. Okay, these are the 2 unique customers, but there are duplicates from the source systems. Now we'll load this data and we'll perform deduplication on them. First of all, let's load the data, because there's an important step that is involved here, that is the lookup translation. Okay, that is an important step, because loading data from lending to lending to staging is simple. From staging to base object is also simple, but here there's an additional mechanism, that's the lookup translation that happens. So I'm going to tell you that. I'm not going to tell you, I'm going to show you what is this lookup translation and how values are translated. So first, let's load data from the landing table to the staging table. So how do I load data from the landing table to the staging table? What is the mechanism? The mechanism is mappings. Mappings are the thing that load data from the landing table to the staging table. Okay, how do I run a mapping? So see, for people who are from Power Center and from other tools, um, they have a habit of creating workflows, they have a habit of creating jobs. But here you are not going to create any jobs. You cannot, first of all, understand this clearly, you cannot create jobs. So that's simple as it is. You cannot create jobs, you can only execute them. Only view, 2 options, view and execute them. Then who is going to create the jobs for you? The system, that is Informatica MDM system itself, server, it's going to create the job. How it's going to create the job? When you create a mapping, automatically you will, if you go to the batch viewer, you will see that a job is created. For example, the mappings are here in the stage. In the stage area, you will see this, you can see these mappings. Okay, who created this? I did not create it. The system creates automatically the jobs. You just have to execute the jobs. That's your responsibility. So a big headache is removed here. That is creation of jobs and all that. But yes, you can do something similar to that of like already we created, that is the batch group is something where you can group the jobs and you can run them in a group. But remember, this is just grouping the job and running them, not creating jobs. We are not creating any jobs. We're just grouping this bunch of jobs and making a proper queue, or you can say proper uh, logic, and executing them. That's the simple thing. Okay, now batch viewer, I'm going to go here. Already batch viewer I covered. If you see this batch viewer, I've already covered what's batch viewer and workflow batch group. Now we are going to run the jobs. So the staging job, see, I'll open the architecture document. In the architecture document, this is done. That is from ETL, from using an ETL or using anything, you load data from the source systems into the landing table. So that's done. Now we'll run the job to load data from the landing table to the staging table. Okay, how do I run the job? You need to go to the staging here, and then you need to run the job. Dependency. Is there any dependency? I told you that these jobs do not have any dependency. The staging job do not have any dependency. So what can I do is I can run all of them in parallel. But let me start this job one by one and show that to you. You right click and say execute. That's the simple way of executing. Okay, you can see cross mark. Cross mark means the job got failed. Okay, cross mark means the job got failed. Now how do I track it if the job got failed? See, read the logs. This is a very simple situation why it got failed. A serious error occurred. Error was column is not nullable in the staging table. I told you, right, the last update date is an important column that needs to be mapped, and the if you see the mapping, the last update date has not been mapped. I think this is the job, right? Party MLO. You go here, the last update date is not mapped. So what you can do, you can directly go and take the log. You can directly say auto mapping. Okay, or otherwise you can drag and drop it. Both are same thing. Auto mapping, save it. I think the same situation is there for most of the other jobs. Yeah, here also. So last update date is a mandatory column. You must map it. It's mapped. Now I already told you that PKSRC object is also an important column. If I remove this PKSRC object, if I do not map it, and if I try to run it, I'll quickly show you that it will also throw an error similar to what we had. So if I run it now, this will also, you'll see a cross mark. Cross mark means failed. That's what is the meaning of the cross mark. Okay, so you can see here PKSRC object is not nullable in the staging table. So you are very much clear with this, that go to the mapping and connect it. Okay, so this completes the mapping. Now we'll go and we'll run it. See, you observe this query parameter. The query parameter is src is equal to mlo. It means if I go to the data, src is equal to mlo. In the party table, how many records should I get? I should get 2 records, correct? src is equal to mlo. So this mapping must extract 2 records. Every mapping, in fact, is going to extract 2 records. So let's go here and let's so what I'll do is, you can clear the history because I don't need to store the logs. Say execute. See, the logging mechanism for this is not do not compare the logging mechanism of this tool with that of Power Center or IDQ, because they are quite advanced in logging. But this is, I wouldn't say that, I cannot say even that this is advanced, because this is not advanced. This is basic functionality that Informatica provides. So tick mark means the job got succeeded. So you can see the logs here. These are all simple details. Name. This is the import. This is source system, and this is provided with the staging table name. So you have to say C underscore. If you say C underscore STG, for example, if I go here, copy this, and I go here C underscore this is nothing but my staging table. Okay, you can see that two records got loaded. In the logs I see the two records. Okay, and see two records loaded, two records, uh, total two records, and two records inserted. Rejected record is 0. Okay, so if you go here you can see that totally two records are loaded. I told you that this is a system generated column, so this is automatically something is written here. I did not do anything, so this is written by the system. So that's simple. Now let me demonstrate the reject functionality quickly. Let's say if I go here and I don't have that much time.
Sunil,
Yeah,
these two records are directly loaded to the base object.
two records are directly loaded to the, no, not base object. That's what I'm telling you, right? It's loaded into the staging table. There are two processes,
Okay.
this and this. So we have to run, there are two types of job. One is a staging job, another one is a load job. We are talking about the staging job now. Staging job moves data from the landing table to the stage table, that is from here to here. We are only running the mapping. Okay,
Using the mappings only.
we are just executing the mapping now. Once the mapping is done, then we'll execute this.
Okay.
So see, I mean, you can mock up the data. For example, name, you can, if you mark the name as null, it will reject the customer. So you can also do that, but I don't want to change the data. What I'll do is I just want to demonstrate that. So I'll quickly create a reject function to demonstrate that reject thing. For example, see what I'm doing is I'm simply rejecting all the customers. That's foolishness, but I just want to show you what happens if I reject it. So constant, say, just checking. Okay, so I told you about reject function. If you connect it, it is going to reject. That's simple as it is. So now if I run the job, you will see that two records will be rejected instead of being loaded. So let me go here and you right click and say execute. See, you will see a tick mark means succeeded. You will see a cross mark means failed. Okay, what's the error here? One second. Execution, check the application server logs. Okay, one second, let me check the logs. But first of all, I did not do anything special, right? Why I'm getting an error? I just created this reject function, nothing more than that. No, it's not related to, just quickly. I think it's really, it's a server error or something related. Let me confirm it. I'll start this job. Let me also start this job. Okay. Okay, this is working. This was working earlier. I don't think I have literally done anything, right? I just last update disconnected, everything is connected. I didn't do any change, then why it is? Because to check it in the logs and all that, it will take a long time. I just want to see what's wrong, what I did. Okay, anyway, if you, okay, let me show that. Let me show you how do you backtrack. That is, it's when I'm running the job, you can see here, it's throwing some error and it's asking me to actually go to the application server log. The application server logs I shared it. Application server logs will be in here, standalone log. server.log, that's the name. And what you have to do is, the problem with this log is this log contains everything. Everything means okay, sorry, it's not in here, so I have to access it from the server. uh, sorry.
Sunil, you're
Yeah, tell me.
Sunil, like you're checking the, like you're checking the like logs on the on your like local server, local system,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I was checking. Now I'm connecting to the remote server and I'm checking it.
In the real-time scenario, where do they reside?
They reside in the server. The logs will always be in the server.
Yeah, that should be.
The logs will be in the server, but you can also access the log. I mean, I have given you one network link. From there you can also access the logs. But the logs reside in here, JBoss, and then standalone, and then logs. You must remember this path, because in interview they will ask you where the log is created. So this is created in here. Yeah, it's like you can say, like for first, second, third. So for every day you can see one log is generated. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like that. So for every day you can see log is generated. So this is like log for it contains everything. I mean, that's the problem with this log. So if I want to find my job, it's going to take a lot of time.
So like in Power Center, it does not
Oh,
create a log for each separate job.
this is the only log that it creates. For example, this is the log that you see here. That's the only log that you can create. But if I run this job, uh, it is asking me to check the application server log. So there's no log created inside here. So you just need to go to you read here, check the application server log. So now you need to go to the application server log and you need to track it.
So what you are seeing is on the system server log, no?
Yeah, system server log. That's the application server log. And to find what's the error, what you need to do is, first of all, identify your job among this. And to do that, the best way is the time frame. um, I'm checking from the end. C party MLO, you can also check. Okay, there is some error. TNS listener could not find available handler, but this is not the error. Okay, what I'll do now, see, um 8:30, right? So I'll run the job quickly now and I'll check the log again. So now the once this fails, okay, so logs should be generated now. Where is Osh? Okay,
Uh,
8:30.
Sunil, like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like probably I might be asking a very basic question here, but
Yeah.
why are you checking that on your local system?
Because remote system, why I'm checking in, I'm not checking in, I'm taking the log from the remote machine. You can see here, I'm taking it from the server, not from my local machine.
Oh, okay, okay.
I've connected through TeamViewer. You can see this is TeamViewer. I'm not taking it from local system. But I'm copied that into the local system because you know, right, always local system is much faster than remote. So yeah, this is the log from 8:30. Let's see where our job is. Yeah, error. Could not load repository metadata. So there is some internal problem, I think. Could not. There is some error with internal error. It happens. So probably these errors are also very common in Informatica. It's happening because of this some TN, some listener, some network connectivity issue. It's happening because of that. So it's completely clear.
Not loading the metadata into the master
Yeah,
database.
yeah, that's correct. It's not loading when I'm trying to run this job. What is happening is the mapping details are not getting fetched. Okay, so the mapping details are not being fetched properly. It is happening properly for this, but it's not happening properly for this. So let's say if you face this issue in production, so what you are going to do? So the only thing that you can do in these cases is you have to contact the vendor, because these are all internal errors. That's the option. You have to contact the vendor, or you try to do something in here. Okay, so for me, the
This installation is on the single server, no? Master and the ORS are on the same server.
same server, yeah.
So if it is on different server, different installation setup,
Normally it will be on
then
the same server. Normally it will not be on different server. It will be on the same server. So even if it's on the same server, this error is something that is really strange, because it's able to fetch the metadata here, but it's not able to fetch the metadata here. So this is basically an internal error, and two ways to track it. Either you are on your own. So because if you raise a ticket to Informatica, even if you raise a P1 ticket to Informatica, it will take 2 days for them to resolve it. They'll ask you many different kinds of logs and all that. They'll take a lot of time.
yeah, that depends upon the level of support, no,
No,
gold or bronze
no,
or
even if you because see, even I normally raise P1 ticket to them. For P1 ticket, see, this is how Informatica, what they will do is they will immediately they will call you, okay, and they will change the status from not
severity.
accepting. No, the severity level they'll try to decrease it, or even if they don't decrease it, they'll simply update it that checking it. Okay, that's it. So that's the P1 ticket. P1 ticket means if they do not check the ticket within 1 2 hours, there will be serious escalation. So what they will do, they'll simply open the ticket, they'll update something that checking, and then they will the timestamp will be updated. So there will not be any escalation. Like that, they will continue for 2 days until unless the you do not escalate it to further levels. This is how Informatica will they behave. So normally for a P1 issue also, they will not resolve it immediately.
Actually, PVN has to be resolved within 4 hours period, I guess.
That's the P1 for you. For if you want Informatica to resolve it, then you have to escalate and you have to take it on a very high level. By default, when you raise a P1 ticket with Informatica, they'll not respond as like within 2 hours or something. But yeah, the rule of P1 is should be resolved within 3 4 hours, and there should be response. There should be update in the ticket for every 5 10 minutes. For every within 5 minutes 10 minutes, someone should update what's the status on the ticket. That's the rule. But that's the rule in your organization. But for Informatica, you have to, because it's an external team, so you have to do the follow up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Based on the level of
Level
support,
of
if
support.
you
Yeah,
have a golden support, then automatically they have to resolve within 4 hours.
correct. Yeah.
Generally, most of the clients take the standard support,
No,
which
even
they
if
try to
see,
take it.
they see the problem with vendor support is, let's say if I get an issue here, see how Informatica is going to resolve, because Informatica is an external team. Okay, so this is your project related stuff. You cannot expose this code everything directly to anyone. Okay, because Informatica is also an external team. So the communication will Informatica directly, they cannot log in and they cannot check the logs. That's something they cannot do even in a P1 issue. What they have to do is they'll ask you the logs here. You will take the logs, you will send the logs, you will attach it in the ticket. They will download this, they will check it, then they will ask you for additional details. That is why the communication will become quite long. So for me, I'm doing this shortcut. I'm simply dropping and copying it. In a production use, you cannot do this, because
So most of the time this happens when the metadata gets corrupted.
Yeah, corrupted, that's correct. Yeah, probably if you restart it, then it will not behave that strangely, but for me this is an easier way of.
So actually, when you try to do the changes and try to save it, the commit may not have happened properly into the metadata. That is causing the problem.
No, actually, the problem is this tool has small bugs in a lot of places. The problem is Informatica, because of competition and all that, right? Informatica, they keep on adding new features with every version, but they do not test it that thoroughly. I mean, these things they do not test it very thoroughly. You will see that every version they keep on adding new functionalities, but they do not test it. So that's the main problem why these small bugs appear up.
Yeah, we need a lot of patience to do the development also. Yeah, there is no proper validation on the coding and all,
Yeah,
and if you connect columns of integer to varchar and all, it's not validating unless we run the whole mapping.
correct. Yeah, it's not validating. So there are a lot of things. See, the main objective of MDM is to actually do match and merge, and it is doing. You will see that it will do that perfectly. These are all just support for external source systems. I mean, what do you say? This is not really the job of MDM. All this mappings and all that. This is the job of a data quality tool. But because a lot of client cannot afford data quality tools, they do not have that much money. So Informatica does provide some level of cleansing that you saw in the cleanse functions. But anyway, so can we copy a mapping from one ORS to another ORS? It's not only mapping, you can copy whatever you see in front of your eyes, like all the things, packages, cleanse functions, mappings, the base objects, everything you can copy from one repository to another. That is using the repository manager that you will learn later. This repository manager handles the code migration. That is, you move all the code using this repository manager. Now quickly, so two records got loaded here and two records got loaded here. So I don't need to check it, but probably I'll just double check it, cross check it to make sure that see here two records are loaded. That's correct. And CKR two records are loaded. So I'm just double checking it because we're doing it for the first time. Normally you do not need to do that every time. So this is loaded. Now what I'll do is I'll quickly start the load for other things, that is contact, address, a contact and address. I told you that you can start them in parallel. So I'm starting them in parallel, all of them. I'm not waiting for any completion. Even the party table also you can start it in parallel. I just wanted to show you. That's why I ran one by one, but there's no dependency. So this contact, two records, address, two
But
records.
until the party is loaded, we can't run the other two, no, because of referential integrity.
No, that referential integrity is only for this load job because lookup translation will happen from staging to the base object.
Okay.
There's no dependency.
Yeah, yeah.
So that is
Only in the
why,
load.
if you remember in the batch group, I created
Mm-hmm.
all of them in parallel. Okay, so there's no dependency here. But here, now the load job which we are going to run now, here you will have dependency. So all the data is loaded properly into the base object. But first of all, now let's try to understand the concept before. See, now data is there in the staging table. So in the architecture, data is available here. Now we must move the data from the staging table to the base object. So before we do that, the lookup translation is something that will happen. Okay. So
Can
before
we check the raw tables? So now the raw tables only we're checking, no?
raw tables, let me see. If raw table is configured, you will see data in the raw tables. Uh,
No.
if raw is configured for any of this, then you can check the raw table. Okay, for this it is configured. So this party secure. So you can go and check this underscore raw. The structure will be similar to that of a landing table. You can see here the structure is similar to that of a landing table. Okay, and you can see all the data. This is same as the your landing table only. The only thing is the landing table contains data for all the source systems, whereas this will contain data only related to CKR. Okay, that's the only difference between a when I say copy of landing table, it means copy with filter. Okay, that's the only difference. And this was the online indicator that we were talking about. I mean, by default it is 0. For real time, this will be 1. And yeah, so now we'll be moving data from staging table to the base object. So before that, first of all, let's try to understand what is in the staging table. So I'm again checking the staging table here. So in the staging table, the PK SRC object, what is the value here? This is the primary key from the source. Okay. Now, okay, I want to show you the lookup. The lookup translation happens for the child tables, not for the parent. Okay. So I told you, right? The lookup is only for the child tables. So let me take the child table. So this is my child table. CSTG contact underscore CKR. This is my child table. The PKSRC object is, this is the PKSRC object. And if you see the account ID, I'm interested in the, sorry, the party ID. The party ID is CKR8011. This is CKR8012. What is this party ID? This party ID is the primary key from the source. Let me open this document as well. If I see this document, what is party ID here and what is party ID here? Here, party ID is, what is the party ID here in the staging table? This value. What is this value? This is coming from where? From the source. So this is the primary key from the source. So the party ID in here is the primary key from the source. In here is the primary key from the source. But when it is loaded to, when you're loading this data here, you will see that the party ID, this value is translated to the row ID underscore object. Okay, that we are going to see now. Just observe that in the staging table you have this value, but when we load the base object, the value will not be CKR like that anymore. It will be the row ID underscore object of the base object. Okay, so first of all, I already told you that there's a dependency. So what happens? So let's try to run the jobs and see what happens. Staging is done, so I'm closing that. Now you need to run the load job. Okay, so address, contact, party. That's a dependency. You have to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like this. This is the way of running it. Let's say if I start the address table. Okay, so if I'll run the address table, let me see what happens. You can see here, total records is 2, inserted 0, 0, 0, 0, rejected records is 2. That's expected. And you can see here missing lookup invalid row ID object records. How many? 2. So it means that 2 records were rejected. You see here 2 records were rejected. What's the reason? Cannot find lookup value for the column party ID. You understand, right? Why this error happened? Because I loaded the child table first. Without loading the parent, I loaded the child first because the reference is not there in the parent table. So that is why you are getting this error. Now, what is
But
this?
what is this table? What is this table, Sunil?
This is the same table, the reject table. The reject table that we had earlier, the table is
Okay.
the same. I'll just show you. That's a good question because the see when data is rejected from landing to staging, or data is rejected from staging to base object, the reject table remains the same. The table is the same. For example, I'll access the table now. So that is underscore rej. Okay, not contact. What do we loaded the address, right? So addr, and we loaded CKR. So data must be here. So you can see here, cannot find lookup value this. So this reject table is populated. So you understand, right? The reject table remains the same. That is, there is a single reject table. So if it is rejected, data is rejected from here or here, the reject table is the same. Okay. So you must understand that the reject table is the same. How do you find out if it's a it's a loading reject, or it's a, what you can say, staging reject, that is using this type of errors. Okay, remember, once, let's say this data is rejected here, okay, and again if data is rejected here, this will be overridden here. Okay, so let's say 3 records were rejected here, and then again 5 records are rejected here. These 5 records will override these 3 records. If you want to store these records somewhere in an archive table, you must configure the user exit. Okay, in the user exit, you must store the records. You must use a post stage user exit to archive those kind of records. Okay, so yeah, now let's move back.
So if we leverage the user exit, so it takes those 2 records or 3 records that are rejected while staging
Yeah,
into the archive table, and
correct.
then write these 5 records into the reject.
Yeah, write this 5 record. You can all, if you want the user exit, you can configure 2 user exits also. Like here, uh, archive the rejects. Here also archive the rejects. Actually, here it's not important to archive the rejects, because this is technical reason why it will happen. But here it is important to archive the rejects, because we want to follow up with the source stream. Let's say if the postcode of a customer is not valid, then we reject this customer. We store this reject in a table, okay, using user exit, and then that table, after the load is done, we need to follow, we must follow up with the source team that, boss, this records were rejected because of this reason. You correct those records and you send them to me. Okay, so because,
So the archival process has to happen before the load process is kicked off.
yeah, that's automatically, it will happen if you have configured the user exit. If you have configured
Uh-huh.
the post staging user exit, so you do not need to do anything
Okay.
manually. For example, if you start this job, so automatically once this is done, the user exit job will run and it will archive it and it will kick off this job. There's no manual
Oh,
involved here.
got it.
Okay, so now let's correct that and run it. Correct it and running means running the parent first and then the child. Can I start CKR MLO in parallel? I cannot start it. So for example, here if I start this and if I start this, probably it will succeed. The reason is this server is quick, so uh, by the time you start this is automatically completed. Even if you see this is like pen mark, like finger mark. So if you refresh it, you will see this is completed. But technically speaking, you cannot start these two in parallel. Okay, you must start them in serial. Now let's
Why? Because of lock issues, table lock issues?
yeah, that's lock issues. So because of lock issues, normally Informatica should allow, I don't know, actually in version 10 onwards, they, this is a new feature that they have changed it. I mean that they can,
Retry option?
no, not retry, you can perform parallel executions. I mean, for example, that
Yeah, I
does not.
mean, parallel target is if is the lock option is there, retry and several times.
Yeah, because this lock is normally a lock on the particular set of data, not on full table lock. This is not an exclusive lock on the row level. This is a row level lock, row level exclusive lock, not full table lock. So normally this would allow, but this is a limitation. I mean, yeah. Now we are loading data from the staging table to the base object. Okay, so this is done. So total records is 2, inserted 2, and everything is 0 because updated. What is updated? Inserted means because these are new records, so these are inserted. Otherwise, if they are already present, it will be updated. No action means you already these records were processed, and if you're trying to reprocess them, then that will result in no action. But there is an option here, if you can check it. If you say force update, then even if these records were processed earlier, still, even if there is no change, still also they will be processed. Okay, for example, if I run the job now again, no action, you can see this, right? It's leading to no action. But if I say force execute and if I say execute batch now, then that will result in, you can see it's updated. Normally it should have resulted in no action, but this is updated. Updated, why? because see here initially this is inserted, okay, and later when I rerun it, no action. No action, why? Because already those records were processed, so no action. And here when I say force update, you can see that it updated forcibly. Even if nothing has changed, it should have basically been no action, but because I have chosen force update, so you can see here that this got updated, okay, and updated cross reference to updated these two. Tokenization and all that is not done here, okay. This records tokenized, I'll show you this option in here. In here there's an option to generate match tokens on load. So if this option is not selected, I cannot select this option because matching is not configured. This option can only be selected if matching is configured. Let's say I have configured matching. If I select this option, what will happen now? You will see that after the load is done, the tokenization will also be done in the single step. That is here. See, this is only loading data to the base object. But if I, let's say I select that option, I would have selected that option, then tokenization would also have happened here, and you would have seen records tokenized here. Normally in production, you should always enable that option. Okay, that will increase performance. These mappings we created right long time back. I mean, these cleanse functions, mappings, all that. I hope you are done with your cleansing function features. For those who have not practiced yet, okay, let me log in quickly to here and see what you guys have done. Okay, I can see a lot of people. This is one person, this is 2%, this is 3, 4. I can see there are only 3-4 people who have actually done the lab on these mappings. So please do the labs on this mapping, otherwise you are going to forget the functionality. Okay, so you complete that.
Sunil, now you have to manually run the tokenization separately? Or?
Yeah, now I have to run it separately, but I cannot run it now because matching is not configured. If I run it, I'll show you, it will give an error. For example, let's say, okay, this is not our. If I go and if I run this, you will see that this will throw an error. For example, let's say if I go and if I run it here, then it will throw me an error. Okay, why error? Because there is no match column defined, because I did not configure matching. So I must configure the matching. If I do not configure it, I cannot run it. So I cannot. That's what you'll get an error. I'm clearing the history. So first let's complete this staging. Staging is done. Sorry, load. So first the CKR is done. Okay, now let's check the party table. What is loaded? Let's see. See. Okay, I'll just keep a track of this table because C party. That's the name of the party table. Let's see. See, I just loaded 2 records. You can see here. I loaded only how many records? Only the CKR I loaded. I did not load this MLO. Okay. So 1, 2. I told you this is a sequence generated number, row ID object 1, 2. This is admin because admin is the user that created it. Consolidation indicator is 4. Remember, I told you, right? The consolidation indicator of the records loaded initially will be 4, and the last row ID underscore system, you will just keep a track of this. This is not important, but it is interesting. You will get a lot of important information from this. This is nothing but the source system that last updated your row. Okay, and this is the data like Amit Mishra, Vinay Kumar, and active. This is a simple thing. Now let me load the MLO. Okay, so this is done. You can see this is fast. This is done. So execute it. Now 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4. See, remember we are talking about the base object now. You can see here, this is the party, C underscore party. In the base object, you can see there are duplicates. Amit Mishra, Vinay K. Kumar, Vinay Kumar. You can see there are duplicates initially loaded, but the consolidation indicator is 4. Okay, the consolidation indicator is 4. So later when we deduplicate the data, then what will happen? This record, and this record will match and merge will happen among this record and this record, and one record will survive. And here these two records, Vinay K. Kumar, match and merge will happen and only one record will survive. But that's about the match and merge. First of all, let's complete the lookup functionality. Now we can run this jobs, okay, the contact jobs. I'm starting the contact job. I'm starting, it looks like I'm starting all of them in parallel, but most probably when I click on this is completed already, so it's not throwing me any error. Otherwise it will throw me an error. Okay, so contact, two rows, two rows, two rows, two rows. Okay, so that's well and good.
What is the warning that you got?
This we run earlier, right? Not now. This I demonstrated the reject earlier.
Yeah.
This was
Got it.
older, not now. This is the log that we ran now, 857. That is 857. Okay, so this was at 844. It's different. So now let's check what we have loaded. Party is done. Now contact, and so 4 rows are loaded to the contact, and address, 4 rows. Now let's check this. Let's, for the address table, let me go to the party ID. What is the party ID? 1, 2, 3, 4. What is the party ID in the staging table? If you remember, that was the source key. Okay, that was the source table key, but you can see that value is translated to the row ID underscore object of the, I'll write the definition of lookup. The source key of address is translated to the row ID object of the parent. That is, parent means party. This is called as the lookup translation. Okay, or more accurately, I'll say, see, this is exactly what happens. What I'll do is, I'll take, where is this staging table? Yeah.
So this translation lookup, lookup translation, we can see in the XREF tables how they are mapped.
Yeah, I'll show you. I'll join this table with the XREF table, and I'll show you how this, what exactly happens. So C underscore party underscore XREF. Okay, on your, let's say this is staging, address. This is party XREF. So address dot, what is the key that is used? Go to the lookup here, configuration for address, go to the staging table, go to the lookup properties and see what is the key that is configured. Just edit it once. So you go here and see the party ID. This party ID in the staging, see what is the party ID in the staging table? The party ID in the staging table is coming from the source. Okay, so what is happening here? A dot party underscore ID is equal to what? The primary key PKSRC object from the cross reference, that is px dot pkey src object. Okay, let me do a inner join so that if there is if it is resulting in no records, then we can actually detect it very easily. So this is the mechanism of lookup translation. You can see here, correct? You understand, right? This is the staging table, and this value party ID will be compared with this, and the return column will be what? px dot row ID underscore object. That is the return column. Okay, and this value will be stored in the, this value, this party ID is translated to this value. That mechanism is lookup translation. I hope you are clear with this lookup translation. If you have any, if you are unable to understand, you directly ask me, because uh, this is the most easiest way of understanding the lookup.
Sunil, if we are not following that row ID and if we are using the primary key from source, we don't need to do any lookup.
Yeah, see this lookup here is based on the PKSRC object cross reference. Okay, but let's say if you create a columns, let's say A B C D here, and you create a column called as, let's say, A B C D here, and you directly relate this to this, you do not use the logic of cross reference anymore. Let's say here I'm doing with the cross reference. Let's say you do not use the logic of cross reference anymore, you directly relate that. Then there is, this concept is completely different. This concept is a slightly complicated concept. Okay, and this constitutes 95% of the lookups in MDM. Okay, 95% of the lookup mechanisms will use this type of logic. The remaining logic is very rare, where you will directly use this with this. So this is a very simple thing. I mean, see this, there is nothing complicated in here. So this is a column, this is a column, so there is no substitution that will happen, just a check will happen. Here substitution is happening, but here there is no substitution. Here it will just check that this value is present in the parent before loading it into the child. That's a normal.
Only the differential.
Is it automatic, or Sunil,
No,
is it happening?
nothing is automatic. You have to configure the lookup. If you want to ensure that this check happens, you must configure the lookup. It's not automatic.
Oh, the differential integration you're already doing that, right? I mean, not about this one. If you have a direct primary key to
Yeah, this one.
child key,
Yeah, this one referential integrity you can do, but if you want a replacement also, you can use the lookup. But yeah, this, if you have created referential integrity, this is automatically that will happen. It will ensure that, so no problem with that. And if you have created referential integrity with, you can see this, there is an option when you create it, it's allow null foreign keys. If you have not selected this option, then automatically that will happen. No need to worry.
Where did you configure it, Sunil? I mean, do you mind showing it on Samsung?
This is, you configure it in the lookup, right? In the staging table area. In the staging table,
Okay.
when you
Okay.
create it, you let's say I create, say, another staging table. So this is for MCCS. So when I do here, then here I'll select all the columns, and here I can directly configure it here in the pen mark. I can go here and see, this is the indirect lookup that we talked about, and the direct lookup is, when I choose the direct lookup, you can see there is no lookup source system name. There's no source system name. Okay, sorry. In this query, there is another additional parameter that I forgot. Okay, and that additional parameter is and. Okay, you have to also look based on the source system ID. That is this and row ID source system. For example, px dot row ID underscore system is equal to CKR. Okay, so this is the exact mechanism that will happen.
But basically you have selected only the CKR table, no? That's the reason you got only 2 rows.
Correct. But here,
But
when the lookup is happening, you are configuring on two things. You are configuring the source system ID here also. Let's say if I go and say fiber here, then this is what will happen. It will check fiber.
nothing should come.
Yeah, nothing will come. So that's why I told you that when you are configuring lookup, make sure that you are selecting the proper name here. If you choose a wrong name, this is what will happen.
So what if we didn't select anything for that?
For this party cross reference, you must select anything. You must select, otherwise it will take the default. The default is based on alphabet sort. That is CKR will be the default. But for here, you cannot select, and you don't need to select. For this is called as direct lookup. This is called as cross reference lookup. Cross reference lookup, you must give the source system name. So this is how you create the lookup. Okay, so yeah, and you see the same thing happen. I'll copy this query and I'll note it down here so that you don't need to. I think I deleted something. 1 second. I'll just paste this query here because when I send this document, I'll send this lookup query also. This will be useful. Okay. So this is the lookup cross-reference query. So we are almost done here. You can see here the data we just loaded, right? So we are almost done here. You can just go and okay, we already checked the data. Okay, let me show the lookup, and the lookup for contact is also the same thing. Whatever I told you for here, right? This query, whatever I told you. So the lookup logic for contact or for any table, it's the same here. So what will happen here, this contact is getting replaced with this. Okay, that's the only thing, only difference that happens. Okay, and you can check it here. I think this is the table. If you go to the account ID, you can see the translated values 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this is the translated value. So this phase is completed, like loading data till the base object is done. Okay, now we are going to start the deduplication, because you can see here the real purpose of MDM has not started yet, because see there are we have simply loaded duplicate records from the source systems. Now we are going to start the real process. The real process is the dedupe, that's the match and merge process. Okay, so this match and merge process is divided into many steps. You can see here. Where is this document?
Sunil,
Yeah,
we have 6 sources, no? Should we load all the 6 sources at a time and then do the
yeah. Normally
deduplication?
it's not dependent. For example, see, normally in production you'll have things like this. So let's say you have 10 source systems. Then what will happen is every day some source systems will be daily, some source systems will be weekly, some will be fortnight, some will be monthly. Okay, and some will provide you 2 times or 3 times
In a day.
in a day, or 2 times in a week. So the frequency of a source system will be different depending upon the different source systems. So you do not need to wait for to load all the staging tables and then you do it. There is no dependency at all. You run one staging table.
Basically, when we're trying to load a daily basis from a
Yeah,
source
in the
system,
daily
so it
basis.
goes against the golden record and try to match to that.
Yeah, in a see, what I'm trying to say is there is no dependency as such. For example, if I load let's say system, let's say source MLO first and then CKR, or if I load CKR first and then MLO, that wouldn't matter much, because of the trust rules. The trust will make sure that the best version is survives. Okay, so that really does not matter. But yes, you can see here the batch group that we created here. Let's say every day you have 10 source systems. Every day the daily, let's assume that you have total 10 source systems and 6 source systems are providing data daily. Okay, so what you can do is you can start the staging for all the 6 at a single time. You do not need to run it multiple times. You run all the staging for the 6 staging jobs. Okay, for let's say for party, then 6 staging for party, 6 for contact, 6 for address. That is total 18 jobs you can run in parallel, and then you can run these 18 load jobs in sequence. Okay, but again I'm telling you there's no dependency. I mean, you can start them run in serial as well, it won't impact much.
No. Not the question which I'm asking is in terms of matching or merging.
Yeah,
So once we load the data into the base table, so the match process, we have to wait until all the sources are loaded to do the matching, or
no, yeah, that's correct.
should we?
That is the problem here. If you, that is the advantage of running all of them together. So if you run all of them together, then the matching will, you need to run only the matching once. Okay, but if you
Yeah, that's right.
run them separately, you have to wait till this matching process is completed.
Yeah,
You
that's
cannot start another matching job if one matching job is running.
yeah. It goes against the previous golden record and try to see if the incoming attributes have the right trust or so.
Correct, yeah. So the
Okay.
best way is to first load the reference source systems like Duns and Bradstreet and all that, and then
Mm-hmm.
start one by one with your source systems.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll start the tokenization. Tokenization tomorrow is I'll cover tokenization. Tokenization will exactly take 1 hour and completely it will be theoretical, but this is very important tokenization process. If you don't understand tokenization process tomorrow, then the matching process will be very hazy for you. I mean, you will not understand much. Tokenization is, I'll cover tokenization from very basic level. Okay, so it will be a complete 1 hour full-fledged class for tokenization. And once tokenization is, if you understand tokenization, then matching is really very easy. It's not tough. I mean, it's really very easy. But you must understand tokenization. Okay, so I hope you understood this data loading, especially this lookup. Someone was asking me to repeat the lookup once again, so I'll repeat it once again and then we'll finish the class for this lookup. See, lookup, what is happening in the lookup is, if you go to here to the, if you go here to this data model, in this data model, you can see that this party ID is coming from the source. This 1001. I'm just taking an example, and this party ID is coming from the source. But this is 1001, and this is 1. Why? You can see here, this value will not be stored directly in here. This value will be translated to what? To this. That translation is the lookup translation. Okay, and the query also uh, I have also created the query that if you go through the query also, that will give you can also easily understand what's a lookup. I mean, this query, if you go through, this is called as lookup translation. Here I would say, here party ID is translated to this. That's the technical, that's the definition. This is the concept of lookup. That is, this value is translated to this value using this particular query. Okay, so it will not be an inner join, it will be a left outer join, but I've just given an inner join here. Okay, it will be a left outer join on this condition. And yeah, so that's the concept of lookup. If you did not understand, if you are unable to understand still lookup, that's well and good, because I already told you that lookup is slightly confusing and it's complex. So you go through this class, okay, and tomorrow at the beginning itself, if you are unable to understand, you ask me lookups, because once I start tokenization, we will speak only of tokenization tomorrow. Okay, if you have any doubts on today
Uh,
presentation.
yeah, yeah. I mean, why are we using PK source object in the join? Then, when the party ID is translated into row ID object,
Yeah,
like we should rather go for the row ID object,
no,
right?
you see here, you see the lookup configuration here, what is configured here, the staging table, you go here and you see what is configured here. The party ID is configured with the primary key source object. This is nothing but the PKSRC object. This is the full name of PKSRC object. That's the display name, PKSRC object. You understand, right? because we have configured in that manner. That is why we are this will happen.
That is from the party table, right?
Party table, yeah.
Primary key source.
Party table, yeah. Because this value is stored. For example, this party ID, this is same as this. So this value is actually stored in the cross reference of the party, not in the party table. It's stored in the cross reference of the party. Okay, so if you go and check here the cross reference of the party, party xref, then you will see that value. That is c party underscore xref. If I go here, okay, then if I see this, you will see, let's see that you can see this pksrc object. This is from the source. Okay, so that is why we are comparing. Okay, so you understood, right? If you have any doubts, you can still ask me. I'll answer. If anyone did not understand lookups, and if they want to ask in this class, you can go ahead and ask.
Hello, Sunil.
Yeah, I can hear. Yeah, go ahead.
Sunil. Yeah, so Sunil, based on party ID that we are getting from the source, that and party reference, party ID, those two will be same or different? Can you open the data?
You're talking about this? Yeah, this you are seeing party ID. I'm equating it with the PKSRC object. See, remember what is party ID and what is PKSRC object? Can you tell me what is party ID, what is PKSRC object? Both are primary key of the source system, and they are coming from the source.
Source. Okay. So based on these two, we are retrieving the primary key for the base object, right?
That's what we are retrieving, the primary key of the base object.
Okay. And again, for the base object, we will have row ID separate and primary key also separate.
Yeah, the row ID is separate, primary key is separate, but that's in the cross reference table. See, this is the cross reference table. If I go to the party table, this PKSRC object is not stored in the party table. It's stored only in the cross reference table. So for example, go here to the party table, you will not see any column named as PKSRC object here. That is only there in the cross reference table.
Okay, that means like whatever we are getting as a primary key from the source, that is no more saved in the base object?
It's stored in the cross reference.
Okay, it's stored in only in the cross reference.
Correct.
And no, this row ID we are generating based on the primary key from the source only, right?
Yeah, primary key from the source. This is the exact query for that. This is the exact query for that.
But why we are doing that? Like, why don't we use the one that we are getting from the primary key itself, source itself? That is also unique only, right?
Yeah. Why? Okay. Yeah. See, it's a simple question as like, why do we use surrogate keys and why don't we use keys from the source? That's a simple question, right? That's the meaning of what you're asking. Why are we using row ID object generated, system generated, and why not to use it from the source? I already explained this. This option is about preserve source system keys here. Okay, so if you say preserve source system keys here, if you make that yes, what will happen is row ID object will not be system generated anymore. It will be used from the source. But what will happen here, see, the disadvantage is, let's say CKR and you have MLO. Okay, so let's say there are numerics, so 1011 something, and there's a record called as Sunil, and here you have 10233 Amit. Can you see what is the problem here if I store this in the row ID object? It will cause huge problems, because in this system Sunil has primary key as this, and in this system Amit has primary key as this, and if I try to store, these two are actually different customers. They do not have anything to do with each other, and if I try to store this in the row ID object, what will happen? This is an architecture
Yeah,
flaw.
there would be clash.
Yeah, so that will be an architecture flaw.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay, so that is
No,
why.
but like for as you told, like surrogate keys and primary keys, there the surrogate keys we are like in general power center or wherever it is, we are not generating based on the primary key of the source or something like that.
No,
That
no.
we are
Yeah,
generating through system.
that's correct. So this is also system generated, right? Row ID object. See, I'm
But
not.
we are using this primary key of the source and the
Yeah. The logic, you see, the logic, I'm not exactly equating because they are not exactly same, but the question I said, it's similar to that question. I mean, okay, so it's
okay.
not exactly, see, when I say the dimensions is similar as what you store in MDM, it's not exactly the same. I mean, it's similar because I'm trying to correlate so that you can easily understand, but that's exactly they are not same. They are completely, there's a lot of difference. Okay, so this is also different because you see this concept of source systems here, and there's no concept of source systems in I mean in data warehouse. Really, there's no point of storing the source system name or something. All we are just concerned about is the revenue and all those things.
Sunil,
Yeah,
when are you going to migrate the code onto the new server? It is
new server
if I
actually.
try to save it, it is taking forever.
I don't know why it's that much actually slow, because actually you just saw, right, today itself I created a lot of things, and let's say
It
actually
is fast for you, but for me, it took only I could edit only 3 tables to set up the primary key. I mean, reference key setup.
so is it
Only 3 tables in 30 minutes.
I think there is something, some, are you accessing in the office laptop or something?
No, it is my personal with heavy memory and all.
Because I think,
And my download or upload speed is nearly 50 Mbps.
oh no, it's nothing to do with internet speed. I know in US you have
Yeah.
very high speed, so that's not the thing. So anyone else is also facing, I think Pawan, right, you also
Yeah,
told me it's slow.
I have.
yeah, Venkat here. I am also facing, I mean, it is not so fast, it is slow only.
Oh, and people from India, if someone is there, can anyone confirm if it is fast or slow?
Uh, is the server in the US or in India?
It's in India only. No, but that should not be. I mean, this is internet, so does not matter. But it's really strange that, I mean, it's slow for US people.
Maybe
Because
we
see,
should get to that net neutrality after all.
sorry,
We should talk about that net neutrality, I guess.
net
Stop.
utility.
Net neutrality,